We turn now to the ongoing federal investigation into the Trayvon Martin case.
It is still possible for George Zimmerman to face federal hate crime charges. And in a statement today, Attorney General Eric Holder issued a statement that certainly seems to suggest the federal government would be looking further into this case.
We are resolved, as you are, to combat violence involving or directed at young people, to prevent future tragedies, and to deal with the underlying attitudes, mistaken beliefs, and stereotypes. Justice must be done.
Thank you. So does the Justice Department have the legal standing to bring up federal hate crime charges against George Zimmerman? And is it fair to continue to pursue a man who has been tried by a jury of his peers and acquitted? News Edge anchor Tom Haynes at the live desk tonight. And Tom, we're hearing from a prominent local attorney on this matter.
Russ, Lance LoRusso is a former cop. He's a lawyer who represents police officers involved in shootings, and he wrote a book on the subject. He says civil rights charges against George Zimmerman would be tough to bring, especially after a jury has spoken. You could say he wrote the book on legal cases involving law enforcement officers who use deadly force. Lance LoRusso followed the George Zimmerman trial, and he says where the jury was concerned, it all came down to self-defense.
The critical analysis in use of deadly force, whether it's a law enforcement officer or a civilian, is why did they start shooting and why did they stop shooting? And he had a credible answer that he raised as to why, that he thought he was being threatened.
Hours after the jury's verdict, Attorney General Eric Holder said the Justice Department will consider federal civil rights charges against Zimmerman. But LoRusso believes Zimmerman wasn't carrying out a hate crime. In LoRusso's opinion, Zimmerman acted based on his recent experience as a neighborhood watchman.
We can sit and say that he rushed to judgment, he jumped the gun in calling 911, but that is a reasonable thing for him to say. Unfortunately, if the previous perpetrators were young African-American males, you really have to say, well, I can understand him calling the police.
LoRusso says the case is an unfortunate tragedy. Two people in the wrong place at the wrong time. He credits police agencies and community leaders across the country for peaceful demonstrations following Saturday's controversial verdict.
That's a lot of work that gets done every day behind the scenes by law enforcement reaching out in their communities, and that's what leads to peaceful protests, and hopefully some good will come out of those.
LoRusso says in this case, the Justice Department should yield to the Florida jury. Instead, he encourages further peaceful dialogue, the kind that's been unfolding in cities and towns across the country. At the live desk, Tom Haynes, Fox 5 News.
Tom,
live desk, Tom Haynes, Fox 5 News.
Tom, thanks. Now, so many people are watching this case, and the emotions are so strong on both sides that many people are worried about what might